Uncensored Radio Real Talk Roundtable. Real life, real laughs, real talk.
Well, howdy ho, folks out there in UCR land. Welcome to another Real Talk Roundtable, and things are going to get raunchy today. So we're going to welcome our roundtablers. Hello, the vivacious Vera.
Hi, guys.
The captivating Katie Underwood. Ooh. The alluring Angel. Ooh. Luscious
I
Luke.
can do something.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna shimmy too.
And mistress of the boobs, Marie.
Yes.
So yes, we're taking it after dark today, kids, and our topic is sex.
Oh.
Now it's going to get a little. We're going all over the map here today, so strap in, put the kids away. Strap in, strap on, baby.
Yes. Good night, kitties.
Good night,
Make sure you're
kids.
in bed.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
This one gets a rating. Yeah, strap in and strap on because it's happening. Okay.
Strap it on.
So we're gonna go biblical and old school.
Oh, goodness.
And this is a survey that I've found. And the question is, do you think sex between an unmarried man and woman is morally acceptable or morally wrong? Where do we think we are sitting in the modern day? I'm not going to give you the statistics yet. Where do you think in modern day we are sitting? I will start with Marie. Where do you think we're sitting today with the acceptability of unmarried sex?
Well, to me, like where I am, we have a group of swingers that have parties, invite people. I know a lot of them.
They're married.
I know people who are open now, like they can be with men, women, multiple people together. Me and my manager talk about this with his daughter. He's having a hard time wrapping his head around that and bringing other people into the relationship. And I'm like, whatever makes people happy, I think, but I would say old school people probably frown on it. But nowadays it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Okay. Luke, what do you think? Where do you think we're sitting in that survey?
Well, I think I'm going to hell. Look, I think that a lot of people, I reckon it's a 50-50 split. I think a lot of people really hold on to that, you got to be committed to that one partner and that's the way it should be, but really a lot of people who even believe that and say that are hypocrites and they've done things against what they're saying.
Exactly. Miss Angel, what do you think? Where do you think we're sitting in that survey?
So this is what I think. I think all the old school people, they would never say it, but they were fucking freaks, okay? They did stuff that they are not admitting to. And I only know this because I can remember being a little girl. And my mom took me to my friend's house. And it was like the old school like film movies with you got to put it on the thing and it spins.
Projector.
Yeah.
Projector. And it was porn, okay? A whole bunch of couples watching porn. I think old school, they were freaks, but they would never admit it. Now we're just more open to be like,
they were freaks behind closed doors back in the day, and now the doors are open.
They were embarrassed about it. Like, women didn't talk about their bodies. They didn't talk about vaginas, all that other nipples, like, ooh, squeeze and pinch them. That was unheard of. Okay, unheard of. Now, might as well. I think people are still a little afraid to be sexually open, and it's sad. Liberate yourselves, people. Yeah. It's fun.
Katie Underwood, what do you think? Where is this survey sitting, trending towards?
Look, I think that the concept of sex and marriage is separate in the modern world. It used to be that one was bound inextricably to the other. And I think unless you are in a very orthodox religious arrangement where, you know, sex before marriage is prohibited, I don't know, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that probably 70% of people believe that you can have sex with someone if you're not married to them, and that is
Ooh.
acceptable.
She's put a number on it. I like
I
it.
don't know.
I like
might be
it.
wrong, but
I was
that's
going to put a
that's
number
my
on
vote.
it.
Vera, what about you?
I'm total agreement. I was going to put a number on it. I was going to go 67%, like a 2/3, 1/3 kind of thing. But I think
Vera is really good at auctions, in case you can't tell. 67.5. All right, here we go. This survey says 69% of people said it was morally acceptable.
I just find it funny.
28%.
It's 69.
I know,
That's what
right?
I thought too.
28% of people said it was morally wrong. 1% said they depended on the situation, and the other percent said no opinion. I have no opinion.
You know, I
So,
think it
you
depends
know.
on the person, though, right? Like, it depends on what that person wants to do with it, like where they want to go with it, who they want to be with. Like, it's not just like, oh, you can't do this or you should do this. It depends on the person. I'm gonna put my daughter's business out there. I'm sorry, baby. She's 21, and sorry, baby. She's 21, and she decided when she was very young to save herself for marriage. And she's decided to stick with it. And that's a personal choice. Her personal decision. Am I going to look down on it? No. Me, I'm like, woo! I like to dabble in it all. Like, I've dated women, I've dated men, and I've gotten judged for it. A lot of people don't understand it. And it's bad when you get judged for your sexual preferences. And people are very prude, and they're afraid of anything that's not vanilla and normal, which is basically having sex missionary.
right.
You're boring.
I think as long as that's your daughter's personal choice,
Right. And
nobody
that's
else's
just
business.
right.
But if
And
a religious body put that choice on her, then I got a
Right.
problem with it.
Right. And I actually had a friend come for me about it, like put me on blast on Facebook. Oh, you're supporting your daughter waiting for marriage. It's like, why would you force her to do that? I'd rather my kids test it and make sure they like it with the person they're with. And my husband, of course, who's an Italian loudmouth, chimed in and said, we're not raising hoes. He did. He's like, we're not raising hoes over here. And that just started the whole... that
slut
started
shaming
the-
much.
But it was for this friend who was coming for us as parents, trying to teach her, make your own decisions if you want to wait. And she was like, well, you're wrong for doing that. Like, and I'm like, well, what do you want me to tell her to do? Go bang every guy in the damn corner? No. Like, so I think people need to realize it's your personal choice of what you want to do. And I don't think
Absolutely.
we're given that freedom to voice
How
that,
times
and
have
you're
changed, though,
constantly
that, like, it's
judged.
flipped.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I had a conversation with my daughter when she got a serious boyfriend. I said, all right, well, I want you to be vaccinated for like HPV and meningitis
Right.
and stuff. I want you to be safe. I said, so no oral, anal, vaginal until you are completely vaccinated. And she goes, nah. And I said, well, that's how people get cancer. Like, you can it there's a rise on it. Like, I just want you to be vaccinated first. And she's like, I can't believe you said that to me. And I'm just like, but it's the truth.
We're very open with our kids. Like, we'd rather them know and be prepared and be safe than just walk out there not knowing anything. So we're very open with our kids.
There's tons of young girls who don't have uteruses because of the cancer and stuff, and can't never have children and stuff.
Right.
And, like, you now have a vaccine, and that you can prevent that, and you can save your daughter and your son from those.
Right.
And so I was very open with her about being careful because if you're exposed before you're vaccinated, it was worthless.
Right.
So,
and I think as parents, it's our duty to make sure that we inform our children. We're not pushing them to do it, but if you are going to do it, we want you to be safe. My mom's a minister. I can tell you, I knew nothing before I got married to my first husband. And I was 19. Like, she scared the living crap out of me as a teenage girl to even kiss a boy. Like, I thought the worst things could happen. Like, I knew nothing. So I'd rather have them know everything than have them be like, "Ooh," afraid of being intimate with someone or having these myths take over your mind and you're
Right.
terrified of someone even like freaking kissing you on the cheek. It's nonsense.
I think it's important for everyone to be, look, as well informed and as mentally prepared for that first time
Right.
as
Yes.
possible. Because I'm sure we're all flashing back and going, because
Dude,
let's put it out. Like,
the nuns and my mother scared the crap out of me. Let's just put it that way. Traumatized.
My husband, his mother is very religious. She told him the devil was going to come take him to hell if he had sex.
Oh
My mother's a minister. She told me similar things. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
And he
It was
believed
bad.
it. He was young and
So
he
did
believed
I.
like it was these things were going to happen. And I said, that's terrible. I just told my daughter about STDs.
Exactly.
Like, boys are going to use you. They're going to
Yep.
photos. They're going to share with their friends. Like STDs.
Yep.
Like the
Your
devil.
vagina's gonna fall out if you deal with the wrong boy.
I think moms can talk though a little bit more to their daughters because see, I'm one of 4 boys, and then my sister was the youngest. And whether it was just with maturity as my mother got older, she never spoke to us about anything. You know,
speak to
it
my
just
son.
with none of us boys
My
at all.
mother did.
Like I would hear stuff from my brothers because they were a lot older than me. They were teenagers when I was little,
Right.
so I knew stuff, but like, you know, pretty much in my existence up until I was like 15 or so, I really didn't know much about sex or what it really entailed.
My entire sex education came from books.
We talked to
mother
our
didn't
son.
Speak about it at all. My father couldn't speak about it.
Well, I think and Steve, maybe you can back up with some statistics on this, but I've heard that the average age that children start accessing sexualized content or pornographic imagery online is about 11.
Yeah.
So as a parent of a child of any gender, if you don't start to have those awkward, maybe uncomfortable preteen conversations, even before your child thinks that they're ready, at least then they're going to start getting that information from you rather than, buddy up the road or, Laura up the street and get the wrong idea from the get-go. So, my daughters are just about to turn 10.
Yeah, getting there.
I feel really happy that, my household, they're well aware that I'm also bisexual and that, love is love. And they've been well versed on that from day dot. And I'm so proud that one of my daughters has, both my daughters have shared their little boy crushes. But just recently, one of my daughters shared a girl crush that she currently has. And I feel really proud that she's comfortable enough. She knows she's not going to get judged or I'm not going to probe her. And I hope that continues to roll out in another few years when those conversations get a bit more in depth. But, I intend to be quite on the front foot with, okay, by next year, right, do we know what sex is? Do you know what oral is? Do you know, even they'll be going, ooh, ooh, but at the same time, I know that I'd rather them hear it from me. From someone who has the runs on the board than from some kid in the schoolyard who's just going to show them porn. And that's not where I want them to learn it from because that's an illusion,
Well, you could be me at 15 with a baby, 9th grade. So I went and got my own birth control. They said, okay, after you have your period, start your pack of pills. Never got my period because I was already pregnant.
Yeah.
So, nothing that ever happened to me in my life. I love my daughter more than my own life itself. But, and obviously.
Best sex education in the world, right?
I mean, but it just was, I educated her, and I shared my stories. And my mom, just isn't that kind of person. She doesn't talk about stuff like that.
That's really commendable, Marie, because you see it go the other way so many times too.
Yeah.
A lot of women that get pregnant young are so paranoid about their daughters getting pregnant young. And I know at least 3 of those women who have teenage daughters that have children. So
And
is that paranoia really serving you when you should be educating your child and go, this is what happened to me.
Yes, and sharing your stories.
Instead of going, don't do this, don't do that,
Yeah.
because teenagers are going to go, you know what?
Yeah, and I told her I knew she was going to have sex. Like, just let's get out of control.
Well,
let's
yeah,
get vaccinated, be safe. And now she's 25, and she said, "I hate to break this to you, but I might never give you grandchildren." I'm like, "What?" And I was like, "You're my only biological child. I'm not having any more." And she's like, "I just don't know if I want to have kids." She's like,
that's
"Are you
what my daughter told me.
Yeah, she's like, "Are you going to be disappointed?" And I said, "No. I mean, I would like to have grandkids, but if you don't want to have children, I'm not going to have you to have kids, so."
Yeah.
But I think that speaks so much to the changing attitudes as well. As Katie was saying, even 10 years ago, the stuff that you're teaching your daughters was, shh, we don't talk about that, locked behind closed doors.
Not in my family.
With parents that are willing to be honest with their children about not only the act of sex, but their own sexuality and their own experience, I think that can only help, right? And can only make them better informed and more ready to make that decision for themselves. Because,
I think it's about,
as you said,
it's about removing the shame around sexuality, whether that's sexual identity, whether that's the activity itself, but particularly for young girls, that we stop this sort of slut shaming inequality around, boys sow their wild oats and girls are just like making cupcakes until they get married, and I think we've moved away from that, but I think it's still in play. That even in that stereotypical thing of fathers will protect their daughters fiercely and yet encourage their sons to go out and be more wild. And I wonder how much that inequality is still in play. But again, having said that, everyone's so different, and some young people need to be encouraged to be more expressive, and others are going to feel maybe pressured to be too sexual too young, and maybe they need to be like Angel's daughter to feel supported if they choose to not be sexual at the same rate as their friends, and that is okay too. That sexual liberation isn't about just being free and wild. For some people, sexual liberation is the right to say no and to hold themselves sacred for as long as they want, and my history has been sort of many and varied, but I would like to think that I'm going to honor my daughter's choices. I'll give them all the information. I'll share as much experience as I can with them. But that to really empower them with that knowledge that the choice is yours. If you want to be wild, if you want to be self-contained and sacred, both of those things are your choice. And that both of those things are liberation. That's kind of how I see it.
I think that the point of view of queer identifying parents is really important too, especially, and it's not something that we talk about a lot for gay males, young gay males, because with apps like Grindr and they put themselves, and I think, Luke, you could probably speak to this as well, you put yourself in quite precarious situations just to get out there and try something you want to try. Whereas I think if and it is getting better, but like even in the space of how old we are, like you see kids in primary school, like, it's like, okay, you go, girl, like you live your life, your parents are doing something right, like but
I think with apps like Grindr, though,
demystifying it and taking it out of the shadows to make it a safer experience.
Well,
I was going to say, people take a lot of risks with things like Grindr. They go into an environment, like they'll hook up with someone they don't know, and especially like young guys will go to another location. They don't know who this person is. It's quite.
They didn't watch Oprah. You never go to the second location.
But they all do, and Tinder's the same now. It's happening in heterosexual, bisexuals. Everyone's sort of doing this now, but there is a risk there, and I think this younger generation really needs to understand all of that as well. It's not your meeting at the disco anymore. It's
My sisters and I
You're getting
are
sold
like,
lies on an app sometimes. You don't know who
like
you're talking
a
to.
generation ahead. And when we were in high school, we were in theater, and theater is a pansexual smorgasbord.
Wonderland.
There's a gay, there's
Smorgasbord. Try what you like.
Yeah. So when my niece and nephew were coming of age, my sisters were very open with them, and they could answer any question, or they could say, that's a question for Aunt Vera. She knows about physical stuff. And, so they had very open dialogues, and they were very accepted, to the point where when my nephew one day just decided, Mom, I'm coming out. I think you need to know I'm straight. And he was dead serious, and he was having the talk with his mom. And I think that's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Especially in the modern day. Look,
Yeah.
Look, more power to you. I don't know if you guys have heard much about it, but what's your opinion? And some of you are going to go like this. Have you heard about the super straight movement that's going on at the moment? So these people identify as super heterosexuality, have never considered anything, have never touched anything, blah 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 blah. Their logo / flag is orange and black, which just happens to because everyone else has a flag, so that they feel like they need a flag because everyone else can have a flag. Orange and black are the colors of not only the Pornhub logo, but also Grindr.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
So
This makes about as much sense to me as like a White Lives Matter movement. Like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
Heteronormative behavior has never been judged, prejudiced against. There's nothing to rally against here, kids. I just think if they've got flag envy, like, I don't know, get out.
Sorry, I think it's stupid.
Just drop it, kids. No, I'm not up for this at all. Take your straight movement back into the dark ages, people. No, not necessary.
Stealing flag envy.
Sorry. You don't get a flag.
All right, so we're gonna move forward because it's the modern day, and there's been some very interesting conversations happening around sex during COVID. So there's literally been statements made by government officials. This one reads, use barriers like walls, e.g. glory holes, that allow for sexual contact but prevent face-to-face contact. Also, if you're going to have if you're New York, it's somewhere in New York.
Of course it was. Why wouldn't it
be? If you're going to have an orgy, please have it in a well-ventilated space where people can keep their foursquare distance. I don't know what kind of orgy these people are going to, but you got to have a good reach.
Doggy style only.
Hey, maybe this is like, the selfie sticks.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like they need to just like put the dildo on the end of the stick. Is that where we're going?
Or we need
to what's happening?
We need to invite that guy from Sex Life to every orgy, because if you watch last week's show, he would be fine with that foursquare meter. He'd be like, "Woo!" It'd be happening to everyone. But yeah, interestingly, you would think. I would expect, obviously, there's going to be some sort of baby boom happening in the next couple of months with all the people that have been at home. But the trends are that people are having sex less.
Well,
married / monogamous couples that are living together are having less sex now than they were pre-COVID.
No, because they're home with each other all the time and they can't stand it.
Exactly.
It wasn't my best life then because listen, I'm having the best time of my life then. I don't know what these people are doing. They're doing it wrong.
But Angel, talk about how much work you've been doing though.
Well, I work like 60 hours a week. And, you know, I take care of my husband and the kids and, you know.
So
like,
when it's downtime, it is downtime. She's out. She's
sometimes
ready.
even when I'm tired, that's not an excuse. Like,
No.
you know, you like it's more of a not just about sex, but be close to that person, the intimacy, your bonding, all that stuff. But listen, you got to do what you got to do. I'm not sitting down knitting blankets.
I had COVID. I had COVID in January. I was asymptomatic. My husband could not wait 2 weeks. He's like, let's just do a doggy style. If you point that way, and
don't breathe on me.
just point that way. That should be in their thing. Yeah, we should be okay.
Mask her up.
Hey, maybe someone needs to bring out like a bit like, instead of the Kama Sutra with all the positions, but like COVID safe sexual positions.
Yes.
Katie Underwood, you need to trademark that shit and get it out there.
Yeah. COVID safe sex for the modern world. I think
The COVID Sutra by Katie Underwood.
COVID Sutra. Yeah.
Sadly enough, I know a few couples that did not make it through COVID that I couldn't believe that, and it broke my heart. Families were involved in people, and the comment was, "You don't know what goes on behind closed doors in other people's relationships." And I'm like, "But you seem so perfect. I don't understand. Like, why is it ending?" And they simply said, "You don't know. You see what people want you to see. You don't."
Right.
And this is exactly what the report I read said. At the beginning of last year, when it was all brand new, there was afternoon delight and secret swims and naked Fridays and da 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 da. Whereas now, towards now, they're nitpicking at everything that their partner does because of the overexposure effect.
Right.
It's okay when you both have somewhere else to go away and you come back to your safe space and go, "Oh, I dig you. You're a cool person. Let's get funky."
Well, see,
but
my
if all you're
husband
seeing is that 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I didn't have that. My husband worked the entire time. Like,
exactly.
So I think
my husband worked
really changed. So nothing really changed for us. He was home for 2 weeks or 2-3 weeks, and I was like, dude, go find something to fucking do. Like, I'm going to murder you. Like, I'm like, why are you
find something to do that isn't me? Go away.
Right. Like, don't even talk to me. Don't breathe on me. Just go work on a car or something. So I get it, but we also had the best time together when he was home. Like, we hung out a lot more. Like, you know, you have that bonding time. So I mean, I guess you don't know what people are going through in their marriages, and some people, you know, they're married, but they don't like each other. And that's a hard truth, you know. It's sad, but
my husband plays video games. I like to clean. He's in the living room playing video games. I'm in my kitchen, going behind the stove and the fridge, scrubbing floors and stuff. And that's, and that's what I do. And I don't bother him when he plays video games, and he knows not to bother me when I'm cleaning my house.
Right.
I think it's such a different thing, you know, so variable in relationships, how much time a couple needs together or apart to be happy. And I think there's a massive variation in that. Some couples will thrive spending more time together and others will break, you know, and there's no right or wrong about that. I think it's just people have different needs when it comes to how independent or codependent or interdependent they're happy to be and whether that works for them or not. So it's definitely not a one size fits all, I think, when it comes to time spent and whether that results in more sex or less sex, if we're coming back to the topic.
It depends on your chemistry with your partner, right? Like, and especially for people that aren't in a relationship during COVID, and I could only imagine, like, especially in America, like, with all this immunization and everything going on, it's going to be a fuck summer, right? For those single folks that have been locked up for a year, I can only imagine.
There's a name for it. They're talking about it, and I can't remember what the name is, but it's And somebody said the reason the Roaring 20s happened in the 1920s was post-pandemic, and he said, and we've got a whole new Roaring 20s coming on. They were talking about it on the radio today.
One of the podcasts I listen to, they keep saying the streets will run white with cum this summer.
Oh my god!
so graphic that I was like,
But
I can imagine with all those folks that are like pent up, it's gonna just be like slamming bodies into the left, right, and center.
Talk about arresting somebody's sexual development. It's like when I was in college in my late teens, early 20s, that was the time to figure out who you were, to, date a girl or date a guy or do whatever you thought you wanted to do in this totally safe space. And these kids have been in quarantine. Like how delayed is their sex education going to be?
They're ready to go. So 63.47% of people post-COVID say that their relationship, the sex that they're having is with a partner that, their relationship partner. There's some other interesting ones. There seems to be a lot of regular sexual partners now, as opposed to, this is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend. So they come in at 10.5%, whereas sex with strangers is only 8.22%. So it seems to me that we're trending now towards, as opposed to when you would go out and hook up at a club with some rando and be like, okay, that was cool. There seems to be more of a trend of, for want of a better term, getting a fuck buddy and going, I know this person, they know me. It's, it's transactionary as opposed to having emotion sometimes.
You know what? Actually, I don't know if I agree with that. I think when you choose to have that, and sure, the loose term fuck buddy, but let's just sort of be a bit more diplomatic and say, you choose to have a lover, a permanent lover, who may not cohabitate with you, who may not be in a set relationship with you, but who you agree to have regular sex with. And that rather than I think casual sex is transactional. The agreement is you do it because it's exciting and because you never want to see them again. And that's what makes it exciting, right? That's the casual sex. That's your 8%. But these 10%ers, and I'm kind of in that, is the people that I'm choosing to have sexual relations with, I want to develop the relationship. I wanted to develop a certain level of knowing and intimacy, because my experience is the better that you know your partner and they know you, the better the sex gets. Casual sex is not often the best sex because you sometimes you get lucky, you do the right thing, they do the right thing, and you go, that was great. But I've had just as many equal fails because this person doesn't know me or my body, and of course they're not going to hit all the buttons. Whereas someone that's known me for 6 months or 6 years or decades is going to be able to kind of get me where I need to go much faster because we have this understanding. So I don't know. I wouldn't call the fuck buddy situation transactional. I think it is a form of intimacy, whether we are prepared to accept that consciously or not. Some people will deny how attached they are.
Well, the point I was going to make about it, though, is it's not just transactional, but it's a safe space. When the AIDS epidemic started, they would talk about every time you have a hookup, you are not just sleeping with one person, you're sleeping with everyone they've slept with. And, that was my thought when COVID started. It's like a casual hookup, you have no idea who that person has interacted with and what droplets they've picked up along the way. It's not a good idea to do casual during a pandemic.
Look, the way I look at it, it's kind of a bit of laziness too. You're like, I like that person, they like me, they know what I like, I know what they like. I don't have to try.
But I think it's getting older too.
What's going on? When you're younger, let's do that.
Right.
When you're younger, you take more risks, and I think, and there's that more excitement there of new experience. As you get older, it's like, is it really that great? Like, you want to be comfortable more so, and you want to know who's coming into your home or whose home you're going to. That's how I feel now. Now it's like
being a gay male, I am not going into some dirty public toilet that, like, just to, get a
you're not going to follow the rules in New York to the glory hole.
Maybe get a thrill, or
not going to the
go stand in a back alley or in a park, or like, girl, I don't got time for that. Like, whatever. My house is warm.
The pandemic.
No.
Do that before the pandemic.
No,
but
that's a different breed.
Since the pandemic, I see less walks of shame in the morning at AJ's, because I would see that all the time, every day going into work, and less people coming in because they left with someone or they can't find their car keys or they can't find their shoes. I'm not finding bras and shoes and keys and everything. So I think people are being a little bit more careful, because it's definitely not the way it was pre-COVID, like for sure, because people were being reckless. And when I say reckless, I'm like, oh girl, use condoms in the parking lot when I'm walking in. Oh yeah. It's like
they used a condom.
Yeah. We're actually closing at 2 a.m. when we used to stay open till 4, just to be on the safer side of things, because things get a little too crazy after
people are going to get slightly less pregnant. You know? Yes,
right, and that's what I'm telling you. It's less things that I used to see and be like, "Whoa, buddy, you had some fun last night." You know, I'm not really seeing that anymore in the morning, which is, I guess I didn't think about it. It's probably had to do with COVID. You know, people are being stressed about leaving with people they don't know.
Right.
Well, I mean, here, bars close at 11. Nothing is open till 2 anymore.
Oh, wow.
You know? Yeah.
Oh, wow. We're open to 2 in Rochester now.
I would like your opinion on this. So studies are showing that ethical non-monogamy is on the rise. So in 2016, a survey of nearly 9,000 single US adults showed that 1 in 5 had previously been in a non-consensual monogamous relationship. Those numbers are slowly rising. So as we were talking about before, those notions of I have to be a married, betrothed, like this is my partner for life kind of thing, are going, which can only be a good thing, right? It's not that ethical non-monogamy, as we talked about in our monogamy episode way back when. I think it's honesty more than anything else, right? Katie, you had a lot to say on the topic last time. You go for it.
I am an ethical non-monogamist. All of the people who I have sexual relations with are aware there are other people in play, and I've been very forward and very honest about that. But at the age of 45, you know, I've given up lying, both for my own sanity and everyone else I interact with. But look, I think the issue around that and the rise of ethical non-monogamy is that people understand now they can choose. You know, in the past, you couldn't choose. Monogamy was the only choice because anything else meant you're being sent to hell or you're relying, or, you know, there wasn't a lot of choice around it. Whereas this concept of liberating what a relationship looks like, whether that's man or woman, whether it's woman, man or man, whether it's one woman and three men, or multiple lovers, or an agreed triad, that there are all these different variations that are acceptable. But the thing that runs underneath all of them, and the thing that makes it ethical, is that you have to be honest and open with what the agreement is. And that this replaces the old version of, well, you know, the sit-at-home wife who just accepts that her husband cheats and she agrees not to ask questions. You know, that was the old model. Whereas maybe the new model would be, well, yeah, I don't have the sexual drive that you do, so I'm going to consciously give you permission to take on a lover, but that at least then there's some openness, and there we get to keep the respect for our partners, regardless of what the differing drives might be. You know, and I think that's, for me, that's what it's about. It's about respecting yourself and what you need, and respecting all of your partners or all of your lovers, in being able to be honest with them and keep to those agreements.
And I think like that trust, honesty, isn't it? Yeah, that honesty and trust would have saved a lot of relationships. I think if people can be truly honest, like I've actually met a couple that when they were dating, even before they got serious, they're both like, we're both bisexual. Okay, cool. No worries. Moving forward, they made an agreement that they're fine. They can go off and, you know, do what they want to do with their same-sex partners, but their relationship is with their, you know, within that confine of the two of them. They've since married and still both, you know, happily go out there and do what they need to do, but their relationship is super, super strong, like crazily strong. Whereas I think in the past, it's always like, especially that the whole cheating thing, especially when it's a same-sex thing, is a huge thing. If you can be honest with your partner from the get-go,
Right.
that can only make a relationship
Right.
better,
There's
in my opinion. In my opinion, as a
podcast
single
that
person.
I listen to.
I think
right.
if you have expectations of what you expect in a relationship, like I just don't want to be with one person. I think it's on you as a fucking human being to be honest and tell the other person, listen, I love you, I want to be with you, but hey, I may want to bring someone else in. I think you owe the other person that. And it works for some people and for others it doesn't. I think it requires so much trust and honesty and a lot of courage to bring that up to the other person you're with. You know?
Sorry, Vera, what were you saying? Go ahead.
There's a podcast that I listen to quite frequently called Modern Love, produced by the New York Times. And it's a lot of stories told by individuals about how they arrived at their relationships. And last week, there was this really beautiful story about an open marriage. The husband was bisexual and wanted to keep his options open to have sex with men. And the wife wasn't really into the idea of an open relationship, but they agreed that they wanted children. And then as the marriage progressed, she decided she wanted to seek another partner too. And her partner was in a really horrific auto accident. And the two families really came together to support, you know, the husband was supporting his wife who was mourning, you know, the injuries of her lover, and the lover's wife was also supporting the marriage of this other couple. And it was a really beautiful story about how these four people arrived at a wonderful relationship. And the start of it was the son, the 8-year-old son, they were bringing dinner to the hospital where mommy was sitting with her boyfriend, and mom was supposed to come out, and the son turned to his dad and said, well, we know she's with Ryan, why don't we just bring it to her? And the innocence of the child just accepting that this was mommy's boyfriend and they could go upstairs and be together. It was really a beautiful podcast.
And you
I think it's what works for people. Everyone's so different.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's so different, you know, and it's what the dynamics of 2 people and then 3 people, 4 people. If it works, it works. For a lot of people, it never will.
And support, if you can find that with 4 people or 8 people, you know, then that's okay.
I think it's also it's important though for people who want or need to be in a monogamous relationship to also have the courage to step up and say that. You know, I've been exposed to the swinging communities and fetish communities, and I see a lot of people kind of feel like to be cool, they have to be prepared to be all open and liberated, where their truth is that actually they really want an intimate monogamous relationship with their partner, but they bend their own boundaries to kind of make it work. So, you know, as much as I love empowering people to be liberated and be unique, and I think, again, there needs to be just as much support around those people who go, you know what, actually I'm heteronormative, and actually I really want a monogamous relationship, and this is what is true for me. And for those people to be valued and respected as well. Absolutely. You know, and I worry sometimes that model, because we look at that and we think it's old-fashioned, that then some people in the free love world will go, oh, that's a lie, or that's not true. I think it is true for some people still. That's what they need, and that's what's good for them, and that really it's about whoever you are in a relationship with, as long as you both have the same understanding and need, then it will work. But if one person is trying to pretend one way or the other to please the other, then it's only ever a matter of time before that blows up.
And we talked about that.
Sorry.
I was going to say, because for me and my husband, you know, that's the only option for us is monogamy. And I can be honest and tell you that if he wanted to be with someone else, I'd feel less than. I'd feel unwanted. I'd feel unloved. I'd feel that I wasn't good enough. You know, like, why did you feel that you needed somebody else? Why wasn't I? And that is like, an old school mindset. We got married, we made a vow, and that's what we chose. And I can tell you, I'm not mature enough to say that I could share and be okay with it.
But you know what? I want to actually pull you up there and say it's not a question of maturity. And you see, you're already trying to cut yourself down for exposing your truth. I think it's a beautiful thing. If you have that need and you find a partner that has that same need and understanding, I don't think you should apologize for that at all. And I'd be the first one to say that having multiple lovers isn't about maturity. It's kind of like sexual identity. It's either right for you or it isn't. And I don't think that you should feel any less because you have this amazing, contained, beautifully intimate relationship with your partner. I think that's gorgeous.
And
Thank you.
sometimes
I think it's-
having no partners is the right choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. But I think it's still so telling that we've jumped from the topic of sex to relationship. Do you know what I mean? Even in this modern day, no matter what the relationship is, whether it be, non-monogamous, monogamous, whatever, that emotional tie is still always there, no matter how much you try and separate it. And I know that gay guys like to think that they're especially good at it, that, sex and emotion, it can be separate, but, the conversation has led us closer to it than further away from it. But we're gonna take the partners out of the equation for a little while. So on this survey, has there been a change in frequency in the amount you solo masturbate prior to COVID to now? 4.61% says I'm masturbating way less. 8.16% say I'm masturbating slightly less. 45.74% say no change. 26.24% I'm masturbating slightly more. And 15.25%, only 15, saying I'm masturbating way more. Now, let's look at the factors, because a lot of people have been trapped in a house with a lot of people, and it makes that alone time very, very rare. Unless you live alone, then all you've got to do is
keep yourself
play
busy.
the home game. But I think that's super interesting because everyone's like, oh my god, everyone's just going to be at home. Blah, 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 blah. I was like, it depends on your sex drive, right? If you're not getting your needs met somewhere, you're going to meet your needs somehow. But yeah, it's not this massive increase that everyone's like, well, everyone's gonna be doing something to someone, and it's like, no, mate, they're not even doing it to themselves at the moment. It seems so interesting results.
Do you think maybe that could be because COVID was happening, people are home, but I also feel like people were stuck at home so much it was almost
the thrill's gone.
Like they were just kind of like blah, like I don't want to do anything. I don't even want to do myself. Like, like I don't have the energy to. There's no sunlight. I'm not getting fresh air. I'm having no social interaction. So, how many people are that excited? What was there to get excited about? Like even touching themselves. Like
you're like, ugh, me again.
Exactly. Like, oh, this is boring.
Well, everyone deals with stress differently too. So yeah, some people may have felt that was a stress relief. A lot of people would have thought,
right.
Last thing I care about right now is sexual needs because everything else is taking priority right now. So once again, different strokes for different folks.
The question I would want to ask here is, what are the different reasons why people choose to masturbate in the first place? And Luke, you've hinted on that some people do use masturbation or even sexual relations in general as a stress reliever.
Right.
And so in that case, they're definitely on the upswing. But, for the rest of us, we might do it for different reasons that may or may not have anything to do with whether we're at home, not. Like for me, I'm in the no change category. Like the amount that I do or don't masturbate has not changed. I've never been a big one for it. Occasionally. And so that because it's not attached to any external or internal event for me, it's just kind of random.
Right.
So, for me, that hasn't changed. But, I've had partners where I can tell if they're stressed because their sex drive increases. And I'll be like, okay, I'm really happy that you're horny for me. But actually, what's going on for you right now? Because,
Right.
you're coming at me 3 times a day and maybe we need to be talking about something
Right.
else, So, yeah.
So I've got a question because this came up with one of my workmates because they're talking about their friend who walked in on their partner masturbating during the pandemic, and that was like a hugely shocking, like horrible thing that they're not meeting their partner's sexual needs and da 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 da. Do you take that personally?
Look, I'm going to go into. I can only go from personal experience. I had a relationship where a partner was masturbating while I'd be at work and we would never sleep together. Then it was a problem because we had no intimacy. But I don't think it's an issue in general. I think, people have control of their own body and should be allowed to do what they want with it. But if it's affecting the relationship overall, then it's an issue.
Yeah, I agree.
I think when I
find that was really like a really weird go-to straight away. Is that I'm so offended by that?
Well, people feel like I'm not good enough.
Have a conversation,
but it might be nothing to do with them. That's like a self, projection almost. Yeah.
Like when I was younger, like in my early 20s, I remember catching my ex-husband, and I was very young when we got married, like 19, 20. And he was a little bit older, and I remember catching him, and I was so offended, like, oh my goodness, am I not good enough? Am I not enough? But as I got older, it doesn't bother me as much because I'm like, you know what? It's a human body. You have feelings sometimes. You got to do what you got to do. It's a natural thing, Take care of business.
we all like a night off sometimes, right? Sometimes you're just not in the mood. You're like, can you go in the other room and just leave me alone? Because I'm trying to watch Gossip Girl or something. My ex used to, just the most inopportune times. I'm like, can you just leave me alone, please? I'd get up and go to work and teach dance all day, come home for the 2 hours between that and working at night in hospitality. And it was like, hey. I'm like, no way. I'm like, just...
You just wanted to catch your episode of Ally McBeal, didn't you?
Oh, no, I wanted to sleep. I'm like, I'm sleeping. So, look, unless it's something I can do with my eyes closed, don't talk to me.
Can we do it,
I'm pretty ambidextrous. I can make that work. But if I have to be involved in it, I'm like... Take it in the shower. At least there's no, you know what I mean? Leave me alone. That's probably why he cheated on me. Whoopsie daisy.
He cheated because he was a scumbag.
Routine, that was fine with me.
Yeah, see, I can share with you that my first marriage, and this is going back, started 20 years ago, I would struggle to get my husband to have sex with me unless he was high or drunk or whatever. But later discovered that his daily routine was to have a wanky in the shower, and I often wonder if he didn't have that in play, then he would have some urge left for me. But because he was
your water bill would be so much lower.
He was serving himself first, basically, and leaving nothing left over for me, And this is where what Luke said earlier, I think, rings true. If your partner's masturbation habits are increasing their drive for you, great. But if it's taking away from what you should be generating with them, then I see that as a real problem. That's my little share on that.
Again, it comes down to the openness to having that conversation, not just going, I'm offended. To be like, well, hey, I noticed that you're sinking your own battleship quite regularly. Would you like to discuss that? Is that something you want to bring up? Or, or we're just going to pretend that nothing's happening and then let it go further and further and then it turns septic and weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. That could just be me. Could just be me. What I didn't look up though, and I'd be very interested to find the if anyone out there who is watching this can find me some statistics against the rise of pregnancy and STDs post and during COVID, I would love to find out, because I'm sure that, once everyone's put it away for a little while, I did read a study saying that people weren't actually seeking medical attention, obviously, for everything, but that there was a spike in STDs in, I can't remember, it was an American, like small American city/town, because they were so worried about COVID, they're not going to the doctor to treat their STDs, still sleeping around, and there was a rise in STDs.
What's a bit of gonorrhea? But no, I think look, maybe it's just because of my age and like the age of my child. I'm seeing a lot of pregnant women around now, or people with young children.
I thought they said it was at a low, in the US, I heard the percentage was at an all-time low for pregnancy.
It's been quite different here in Australia, because we up until now, until this year, we hadn't had as strict a lockdown kind of thing that you guys had earlier on. So it could be that, you know what I mean? There's so many variables when it comes to this subject and conversation. But I think it's really interesting, especially with, the what am I trying to say? God, speak, Stephen. The breadth of experience on the panel, I will say, is that the future seems to be trending brighter, especially for you guys who all have children. It's not this, sex isn't this mystifying, whisper about it on the playground kind of thing anymore.
Right.
It's a topic that is regularly brought up in school. I remember year 7, we had mandatory, separate the boys and the girls, and that day was raining, and there were tampons all over the quad, like just swollen up tampons all over the quad, and just condoms everywhere, water balloons, because year 7, hello, that's what they're going to do. But being willing to have the conversation, the age appropriate conversation as well with children, can only serve them to make better decisions because of their parents' experience, right?
Right. And I think it's important. Well, my son's 15, and, my husband and I were having a talk with him a few weeks ago, oh, it's great, your sister's saving herself for marriage, but we want you to make the right choices, good decision. And he literally looked at us and he goes, I'm not doing that. And my husband and I looked at each other. We literally stopped, the record, the music stopped.
Strict on scratch.
And we looked at each other and we said, what? He goes, I'm not doing that. And I was just like, I didn't know what to say. And then my husband's like, okay. He was chill. And then that's when he knew he had to have that conversation. We can't control what you do, but we can keep you safe. And I think as parents, you also need to be realistic. You can't be there every second for your kids and make decisions for them, but I can give them the knowledge that they need to make good choices. But I also told him, don't bring home no babies to me because I'm too young to be a grandmother. And I'm
And it's very different because you do have a boy and a girl. You know what I mean? You've got both sides of the coin, and
it's
the way that historically they've been talking. Historically, let's talk. Right. The way that they've been spoken to historically is quite different. You know what I mean?
Completely different.
Boys can go out and get it, and girls should keep it closed and whatever.
Right. Our daughter wasn't allowed to date till she was 16, but he's 14, 15, but he can have a girlfriend. I'm like, well, how is that fair? I'm like, no, he has the same rules. He can't date till he's 16. And my husband's like, well, he's a boy, whatever, let him do whatever. No. So I told him, I'm like, well, you can have a girlfriend, but you don't have a car, you don't have a job. How are you going to go see her? I'm like, it's like a pretend girlfriend because I'm not taking you to see her. And I'm not paying for it.
And if she's in this house, that door stays open, young man.
Oh, no, she's not coming in this house. No.
She's not coming in this house.
No, you don't even have a girlfriend. I call it pretend. It's play.
It's play. That's cute.
Until he's 16, yeah.
Why? then we'll renegotiate the contract at 16. But it's interesting. So, like, especially Luke, as a single father to a girl, you're gonna, especially when she gets to hormones kick in age, where sweet young girls become screaming emotional balls of rage. What do you think you're gonna empower Buffy with?
Well, look, she will probably annihilate me anyway because she's already smarter than me. But I think the main thing is just to have trust there as well. Trust me, because I want you to trust me. And I know that children will only tell you what they want you to know. And I'm not going to be offended if you withhold something, but I want you to know you can come to me when you need me. And I ain't going to judge you. Like, come on, look at what I was up to. At your
Daddy was like, oh.
Well, no, actually, I wasn't. I was a virgin till I was 21, believe it or not. But I was just
good boy. But
nothing. There's nothing that's ever going to bother me. Never feel ashamed of anything you've done because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what matters is you're safe and that you're loved, and that's it. Yeah.
And Katie, you've got double trouble coming your way.
Yeah.
I can only imagine when the hormones kick in. When the hormones kick in at your house, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, look, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, my girls are pretty aware that relationships and therefore sexuality is going to take many different forms. I think the area of concern that I have for them is, and I know this applies both to boys and girls, but to girls in particular, to really understand at an early age that porn is not real.
Yeah.
That these people are actors.
Yeah.
That these scenes are cut together and shot in such a way that you're not seeing the reality of the situation, and so that when they hook up with someone and they're maybe being asked to do something that really is more pornographic than it is intimate, that to understand that these things are not real. I find it quite disturbing that so many girls think that, everybody does anal now. And it's like, sure, maybe more people do that now than they used to, but I never want my girls to feel like what happens in porn is supposed to be normal, and that if they don't do those things, that they're somehow prudish. That's the area that I think is really, really damaging. Applies to boys as well. I think for young men, they suffer anxiety because they can't perform in the way that they see on screen, and that this might cause them either to do more than they want or to be so afraid to even have sex with anyone because their cock is not as big or they can't get hard, or the same with girls. So I think that's probably going to be the conversation, because I know that statistically, in another year, their friends are going to start showing them porn. And I need to be on the front foot with them and go, this is not real. It's like watching Frozen, right? There is no Elsa. There is no mountain. There's no snow monster, right? You know that's very entertaining and it's not real. Porn is exactly the same. Yeah. It's not real. It's all directed. These people are professionals, and what you see is totally acting and unreal. And please don't think that resembles what real sexual interaction looks like between two consenting adults. So that's going to be my bugbear, and I know that my girls are going to go, oh, that's gross, and they're going to hate it. But you know what, years later, I hope they will understand and they will thank me for it and go, yeah, I'm allowed to say no to this and this because I'm not a porn star, and also I don't have to be.
When it comes down to it, if they find that that's something they enjoy, you've at least done it. You've done your job. You've done your due diligence.
Again, what I mean? If they want to do it, I'll support them. And frankly, it's none of my business what they choose to do. But to give them the information to go, you don't have to choose that.
Yeah. But you've given them the right tools.
At some point, someone's going to bring this up, and you're going to have to make your own decision about what's good for you and your body. And there's no right or wrong about that. But to know that they're always having a choice around what they're doing, and that they're never feeling pressured to do more or less than they, want to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So to wrap it all up in a nice little bow, or ropes or leather whatever you want to use, whatever you want to tie it up with. I think in sex, in the modern day, I think the openness that everyone is starting to, I feel like we're only at the beginning of it, right? We're on this precipice where honesty can come through a little bit more, and the shame is, honesty and respect, and shame is going down. It's not bad to admit you're a sexual being, or you're not a sexual being, or you like this and you don't like this. So I think having this kind of conversation especially is really important moving forward, so that everyone can live a happier, healthier, more productive existence, because sex is part of life. It's just like taxes, and everyone's got to pay up sometime if you choose to. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us again for the Real Talk Roundtable. We'll be back at you soon. Thank you to my lovely panel, and also Vera and Marie, who had to step away. But we'll see you all again soon.
Marie dropped out. Marie had a storm. Sorry.
or did she? Her husband's a fireman. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. See you later. Bye.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.